Hi everyone, Jean-Pierre from teamtennis.fr and teamtennis.net, former tennis coach in France. In this video I'm going to make a review of the Head Radical MP version 2021, the Head Graphene 360 Plus Radical MP. A few weeks ago I've made a video on my French channel, so I have already sent back the racket to Tennis Warehouse Europe. Nevertheless, some people asked me to make the review also in English, so I'm going to make it now. First, let's introduce the Head Radical MP. So the version 360 Plus, Graphene 360 Plus of the Radical MP is part of the Head's Radical series, which offers intermediate rackets in terms of power, in terms of access to topspin. The Head Radical tennis rackets are a bit control-oriented, but it's not very difficult to play with these rackets that I find rather versatile. Head speed tennis rackets are also intermediate, but a little more forgiving, especially compared to the Head Radical tennis rackets whose head size is smaller than 100 square inch, which is the case of the Radical MP with a 98 square inch head size. The Head Extreme and Instinct give more power, more access to topspin for the Extreme. The Gravity are less powerful with a good access to topspin, and the Prestige are the least powerful head tennis rackets. Now let's talk about the differences with the previous model of the Radical MP. First, there is a weight increase. With this new version of the Head Radical MP, the weight of the racket goes from 295 to 300 grams unstrung. It may not seem like much, but it's a difference you can feel when you play with the racket. The weight gain will provide additional power potential and increase the stability of the racket. In my opinion, this weight increase is a good idea. I personally prefer the feeling with that version. I feel I have a racket that feels a bit more solid in my hand. So personally, I prefer this racket with a weight of 300 grams unstrung. Also, control pattern. The string pattern features main strings that are tighter in the center of the string bed and wider on the sides to increase forgiveness on off-center shots. Finally, the technology Graphene 360 Plus. It's a technology that corresponds to the combinations of two technologies. First, Graphene 360, the use of graphene material to provide strength, flexibility, lightness, and stability at the same time, and spiral fibers located at the bottom of the frame to give flexibility and also a feeling of reduced vibrations, and thus it improves the comfort. Before we continue, for your tennis equipment, I advise you to go at Tennis Warehouse Europe or Tennis Warehouse USA. I have a partnership with these websites, and it's very nice from you if you use my affiliate link before buying there. Doing so, you will help me continue the videos I'm doing on YouTube. You can find my affiliate links in the description under the video. Thank you very much. Okay guys, now let's talk about my feelings on the court when I played with this new version of the Head Radical MP. First, I'm going to talk about the power provided by this racket, and I show you on the screen a comparison in terms of power with some other rackets maybe you already know. So the Head Graphene 360 Plus Radical MP, with its 98 square inch head size, is in the category of tennis rackets with reduced power compared to most rackets with a 100 square inch head size. In this category of control-oriented tennis rackets, the Head Radical MP offers an intermediate level of power, which makes it very versatile and accessible to many players. This racket is a bit control-oriented, pay attention to that, but at the same time, it's not too difficult to play with this racket. I find the level of power close to that of the previous version. Personally, I had a good mix between power and control with this racket from the baseline and also on the serve, which is a weak shot in my game. Just a bit difficult on the serve, but I think that if I just lower the tension of the string a bit, it would be very nice for my serve. So overall, good mix between power and control. It's not very difficult to get some power from this racket. The Radical MP has a slightly reduced power, okay, but at the same time it's still accessible to many players, and you don't need to have an extremely powerful game to play with this racket. Nevertheless, I recommend having medium or large swing to use this racket and a rather good technique to produce power without forcing too much. At 5 grams more than the previous version of the Radical MP, This version has a bit more power potential for players who can handle an unstrung 300 grams weight without problems, but the feel is still very close otherwise. So it's a control-oriented tennis racket, but at the same time it's not very difficult to play with this racket, just a bit control-oriented. Now, concerning the access to topspin, I find that the Head Radical MP gives an access to topspin that is quite correct without being extreme. So I would say just a normal access to topspin. For a little comparison with some other close rackets like the Head Extreme Tour and the Wilson Blade 98S, these two rackets give better access to topspin. But the access to topspin is really good. From the baseline, I didn't struggle at all to make the strings move and to get some topspin. A bit more difficult on my serve, but the topspin serve is a difficult shot for me. So for the topspin serve, the racket is not going to help you, and it's better if you have a good technique for this shot. As well as from the baseline, because even with a topspin-oriented tennis racket, the most important thing is your technique. Okay, you must have a good technique to produce topspin, and then some rackets are going to help you even more to produce this topspin. So to stay on the Head Radical MP, access to topspin quite correct without being extreme. Now, concerning the maneuverability of this racket, so the balance point is located at 32 centimeters unstrung, which is equivalent to a neutral balance. Not especially head heavy, not especially head light, neutral balance. Swing weight 326, head size 98 square inch. With all these specifications, you get a quite decent and versatile maneuverability, and there is also a good stability for this racket. I personally found the maneuverability and stability quite good in all areas of the game, like with the previous version of this racket. Maybe a bit more stable with the 5 grams more. I sometimes struggle on the serve with head-heavy tennis rackets to produce racket head speed because I have a racket drop that is not very deep, and I was not bothered at all concerning that point with this racket. Nevertheless, it's better if your technique is overall good for the ground strokes and for the serve. No need to have a perfect technique, but overall good, so you don't struggle too much to produce power for the ground strokes and the serve. And also the head size of 98 can particularly facilitate the one-handed backhand maneuverability. Now, to finish, we are going to talk about the comfort provided by this racket. So, for some unknown reason, I had a better feeling of comfort with the Head Prestige MPL, with the Head Extreme Tour also, and even more with the Head Boom Pro. But I think it's because of the tension of the string that was a bit too high for me. Now I tend to use really low tension, especially when I play with monofilament strings. So when I played with the Head Radical MP, I think the tension of the string was a bit too high, and it plays a really important role on the comfort you have with the racket. So really pay attention to the tension of the strings you use. While playing with the Radical MP Graphene 360 Plus, I had a slight feeling of vibrations, but overall the playing comfort was nice. In terms of tolerance when off-centering the ball, it is also correct, but it's preferable, of course, as always with a 98 square inch tennis rackets, to have a good centering of the ball. Okay guys, now to conclude on this version 2021 of the Head Radical MP, I would say that this racket is close to the previous version. The main difference is maybe the increase of the weight, 5 grams more, that gives a more solid feeling and more stability to the racket. Besides that, the racket is still a bit control-oriented and at the same time very versatile. I would recommend this racket to players with an intermediate or advanced level, not for beginners. Players with a slightly powerful game, not crazy power. Players who are looking for a little control without having a very hard racket to play. Players with a correct technique, medium, large swings. Players with a versatile game style, a bit of power and topspin. Or flat game, semi-powerful, because if you have a very powerful game, maybe you are going to lack control with this racket. Players who are looking for a correct access to topspin but not extreme. Players who want a racket with a neutral and versatile balance, normal maneuverability. Players who liked the previous versions of the Radical MP but maybe found it a bit too light. Now with 5 grams more, it's a bit different, a bit more solid. And also players who want a racket with a slightly reduced head size, 98 square inch, for the control side and the maneuverability, especially on the one-handed backhand, and at the same time without having a racket that is too hard to play. Okay guys, I stop here for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope it will help you if you're looking for a new tennis racket feel free to ask me any questions in the comment. Have fun playing tennis, and I see you very soon in another video. Take care. Bye bye.